Are you looking to become a better cook when out exploring the backcountry but don't know exactly what gear and supplies to bring? Today we're going to take a look at what I pack in my kitchen and pantry totes that helps me get all chefy when exploring the great outdoors. Coming up.
A bad day.
Yeah! My name's Drew and this is Evergreen Overland. On this channel we showcase off-road vehicle modifications, we do reviews on camping and overland gear, and we hone our outdoor cooking skills using a lot of the products we're going to talk about today. Cooking really has been one of my biggest passions most of my life. Today I want to dive into going over all of the different kitchen equipment that I bring with me as well as some of the pantry items. Unfortunately, it's getting a little windy out here. I'm gonna pull the truck into the garage a little bit and we'll carry on with this video in just a second. All right, that's a lot less wind on the inside. A lot of people in overlanding and camping like to keep their cooking really basic, and I tend to lean a little bit the opposite direction. One thing I always try to convey is eating good when you're out camping and exploring doesn't have to be complicated if you set your systems up right. So some people use the fact that they're getting out, doing something a little bit different, going on a trip as kind of an excuse to indulge in some of the things that they probably wouldn't on a day-to-day basis. I've definitely done the same thing over the years, and although I'm not perfect and I'm not claiming to be, most of the time I try to follow the same eating habits that I do when I'm at home. And at home, me and my wife really try to eat pretty much mostly low carb and use whole ingredients as much as possible. Now I'm going to use this video to kind of springboard off into some videos around cooking and recipes and techniques I use out in the field that I've been meaning to get to for a while. Most of my food recipes will probably have a low carb flair on them. Not necessarily, you know, paleo or keto or Whole30 or whatever it is specific. Maybe I'll call that out specifically on the videos I do, but we'll just kind of see and play it by ear. Now, we're still going to be focusing on vehicle modifications and doing gear reviews and all that kind of stuff, but I've been wanting to introduce a cooking component to the channel for quite a bit just because it's something I'm so passionate about. We will kind of see how it goes from there. Now, I've talked about the term mise en place in a previous video. It basically is a French term that kind of started in kitchens, meaning everything in its place. Basically, I carry that philosophy of having everything in its place so that you know where things are immediately without really having to think about it, and that you've prepared things to be easily accessible and organized. I've done the same thing in my kitchen setup. I kind of have a philosophy of use behind the equipment that I use, and specifically the different totes that I put that equipment in and how I implement them when I'm cooking a meal. First off, I'm going to go ahead and throw up my Expedition Essentials Exo table. If you want to see a video specifically on that unit, definitely take a look up here somewhere, or I will link it in the description below. Kind of goes over why I chose this table and my philosophy of use behind it. I'm going to get that set up and then we'll go on to the totes that I store all my kitchen, pantry, and snacks in. All right, there's the Exo table all set up and deployed. I really do love this thing. This comes from a nice family-owned, veteran-operated company in Washington State, and I highly recommend their products. They're just awesome quality. So my philosophy of use behind kitchen and all that kind of stuff is to have something that is quick to deploy. With any kitchen, you're gonna need something to cook, which is obviously the Exo table for me, and you're gonna need your pots, pans, smallwares, all that kind of stuff. And then you need your food and pantry items, which a lot of overlanders carry, you know, refrigeration systems, which I have, as well as a place to store the dry goods, the pantry items that are shelf stable. I have 3 separate totes designed to hold all of the stuff that I need to cook, as well as my dry goods. All of the refrigerated and frozen stuff go in my National Luna, which we'll probably talk about. I'll probably do a separate National Luna video down the road once I have a little bit more time under my belt with this fridge before I use the ARB 50 quart, and I liked it quite a bit. The first tote in my system is the largest tote that I carry, and this is pretty much all of my smallwares and my cooking utensils and all the stuff that doesn't have any food storage to it. The reason I designed this to not have anything edible in it is because it's big, it's bulky, and I want to be able to leave it outdoors, preferably like shoved underneath the tailgate at night when we sleep. And at least up until this point, I haven't had any issues with, you know, rodents or bears getting into it. I figured keeping all the food and anything edible separate in a different pantry tote would be the best way to minimize any intrusion when we're sleeping at night. We'll get into this tote, but right out of the gate when I get to camp, I usually take it out throw it right at the edge of the tailgate, and that gives me a nice sturdy platform to access the truck. I also have the little ladder that I carry that when I'm using this box for cooking and everything, I usually deploy so that we can get it out of the truck, but this is a nice quick way to access the truck. It's plenty sturdy. When I'm not using it, I just kick it under a few inches and it's out of the way. Now, second in the 3-tote system is pretty much the full pantry. It's housed in the large Arb Cargo Tote up here. This is gonna be primarily everything that I'm using food-wise, where I'd actually like use these ingredients to prepare meals. We'll get into this more, but this is like spices and oils and just component canned goods and all that kind of stuff. Kind of the bulk pantry section. Finally, in my kitchen setup, I use this little Arb Cargo Tote basically as a quick grab full of snacks and all that kind of stuff when you're just trying to grab something to be quick. I love this little bag. It's really sturdy. So far on the trip, having a separate little tote with all the snacks we eat, easily accessible and quick to grab for the cab, has been really awesome. We'll quickly dive into this and I'll just show you guys some of the stuff that I usually pack as far as low carb, paleo, all that kind of stuff. Really right out of the top here, you have an assortment of RX bars. These things are really good. I do pork rinds and different varieties they make nowadays. Crunch is something you're always kind of missing on some of these lower carb diets, so it's nice to have that. Really easy chip substitute there. Meat sticks, more RX bars. I vacuum seal a lot of my foods because this stuff kind of stays in here prepped and ready to go so that we can go on trips, you know, a little bit last minute and I don't have to worry about packing a whole bunch of foods. So I vacuum some of this for a little bit of long-term storage in there. A whole bunch of almonds vacuum packed in here, along with being vacuum packed into some separate smaller containers on the inside of the big bulk container. So yep, just a quick grab and go bag full of all sorts of snackable items. All right, we're gonna dive into the primary pantry tote next. And I guess for the most part, this will just give you guys some ideas of some of the components I keep in my pantry. I am really liking these Arb Cargo Totes. I love the top little area here, has these little Velcro pouches on it. Right here, I've got a whole bunch of miscellaneous size Ziploc bags. This one's empty, waiting for some stuff. I pack a whole bunch of these little Spam singles. It really, out when I'm camping, is one of the only times I ever eat Spam, but I love doing Spam and eggs and that kind of stuff. It's honestly pretty good stuff. Now the big thing in here, this is my spice kit. I have a separate video to this you can definitely go and check out on the channel. It's all of the spices that I've decided to carry with me, and I'm kind of manipulating that a little bit here and there, trying to find some smaller containers to carry some of the more obscure spices that I don't use as often as others. Right here, this is a powdered cheese sauce that I get from, I'll link in the description section below, but I think it's Mountain Hill Farms or something like that. I use a lot of their stuff. They have a really good dehydrated and powdered product. I use their powdered cheese, I have their powdered butter, and I also have their powdered heavy cream that I use in coffee in the mornings to make bulletproof coffee. Some of the new stevia liquid drops, and then vanilla flavored stevia drops. I use those sweeteners in the bulletproof coffee, but I also use them in mixed drinks, doing, you know, like vodka LaCroix or paleo margaritas and all that kind of stuff, which are recipes I'll probably bring to you guys down the road. I love the hell out of this stuff. Everything's made out of cauliflower nowadays. Cauliflower rice is kind of everywhere. Cauliflower pizza crusts and all that kind of stuff. It's such a good substitute for rice. I use it all the time. And I found these made by Earthly Choice at Costco, and I've stocked up quite a bit because I know Costco goes through cycles on things. This stuff's awesome, shelf stable, fully cooked. Just dump it in your pan and add whatever ingredients you're going to make a Spanish rice or a fried rice or whatever it might be. I keep a thing of beans in there if I ever want to do some chili or do some huevos rancheros in the morning and all that kind of stuff. Beans aren't necessarily low carb, but you know, it's there. I do like using the canned corned beef for different recipes as well. Almond butter, Banza pasta. This stuff is awesome. It's got a lot of fiber in it. This stuff's awesome. It's not low carb, but it is paleo, Whole30, all that kind of stuff. It's made out of chickpeas, and it's just a really awesome pasta substitute. You wouldn't be disappointed by this if you didn't know. I cook with a lot of coconut oil, so I keep some coconut oil in here. I also use this in my bulletproof coffee. I like doing some Thai stuff, so this stuff's Thai kitchen green chili paste is pretty good to add a little Thai flavor. Now, I don't have it in here right now, but I do keep a little 12-ounce water bottle filled with cooking oil. I'm just changing out the bottle right now, but I like this California blend. Just a good flavor and reasonably priced. That's pretty much the oils that I cook with, other than like bacon fat and all that kind of stuff. I cook with a lot of bacon fat when I'm on the trail. Keto Granola, this stuff's super good. Get it at Costco. Fairly new find. I just found this a couple of weeks ago. It's just a nice little snack thing, a little sweet. And I usually keep diced jalapenos and green chilies, as well as tomato paste. And then, honestly, this doesn't follow any of the diets. Some good old-fashioned campfire Jiffy Pop is always awesome to have. I definitely like a little bit of campfire Jiffy Pop. Everything else I carry for the most part usually ends up being fresh and kept in the fridge. Keep all my fresh fruits and eggs and meats and all that kind of stuff in the fridge. We're not really going to go through that today because it's not loaded up, but now I do meal planning ahead of every big trip that I do, so this kind of stuff will change around a little bit, but I keep it stocked full of just the essentials that I use all the time, so I don't have to worry about it as much as possible. Well, that brings us to needing to go through the third and final tote in the system, which is all of my kitchen utensils and kitchen pots and pans and all that kind of stuff. Right now I'm using one of the Rubbermaid Action Packers. They're really pretty sturdy totes, thick plastic all around them. I like them quite a bit. They have locking handles on the side. I use these little trailer hitch style pins to keep it latched so the lid's not flying around. First thing, when you open up the tote, I've got a nice little roll of the blue shop towels. I love these things. I try to minimize how much waste I'm having out on the trail. And these things are quite a bit more durable than a regular paper towel. And I can lean this up wherever I need to be able to access it while I'm cooking. Now, as we start diving into this tote, you're gonna notice I'm pretty organized when it comes to how everything's laid out. Mise en place, a place for everything, everything in its place. Now you can see top facing that I have a little grid to kind of help separate all of my equipment. This helps us to keep organized as well as keep some of the pots and pans and stuff from banging around when we're on uneven terrain. Now there's a company out there, I think it's called Trek Pack or something like that. I'll link it in the description. I'm not getting that right. They sell kits of like an organizer similar to this. It's pretty modular, so you can do the frame in it and connect it by these little pins. Theirs is actually all lined with some sort of fabric as well. But I had access to a sheet of this stuff, which is called Coroplast. Corrugated like cardboard, but it's made of a plastic polymer of some sort. And how I formed this was I put it all together and mocked it up, lining these up, making my cut, and then temporarily connecting them with a whole bunch of my wife's hairpins. And then to make it more permanent of a setup, I just ended up taping all of the edges with duct tape and removing the hairpins. This stuff's pretty cool. I'm not sure if you can get it at your local like hobby store, but you should be able to get it at a local sign producer. All right, we'll start going through all the components. So basically around the edges, I have different things packed in. We'll go around the outside edge first. Down in this corner, I carry some microfiber cloths just to clean things up, wipe them down, rinse them out. I've got my nice griddle that fits here for doing bacon and breakfast and that kind of stuff in a bigger fashion in the mornings. Over on this side, got my lighter, of course. Now I haven't gotten the tank with this yet, but this is the little kitchen style butane torch. And you typically see these used for making like creme brulees and that kind of stuff. The one thing that I feel like I miss out a lot on when I'm out on the trail is being able to melt things or brown things like I would in a broiler in my oven. I really find that textures and all that kind of stuff really add a huge component to how food tastes. And this just gives me that little bit of additional finishing touch I can put on the components that make sense. It's hard to brown things when you're out camping. This helps. I also have a splatter screen for when I'm doing anything, with a lot of grease or if I'm frying anything like that. In this corner, I just carry some super heavy duty foil. This is awesome for cooking. All right, going on the interior now. One thing that I like to keep super accessible is anything that I'm gonna need to drink or anything to do with coffee in the morning. Out on the trail, you get to camp, you're fixing yourself a mixed drink, or you're waking up early in the morning. You don't wanna be fumbling around to find those cups. So I keep those right up front. All my utensils. I've got some cool Expedition Essentials, little metal drinking cups right here. I got from one of the Overland rallies years ago. And then I've got a couple of insulated mugs for drinking coffee or what have you right there. We use Starbucks Via quite a bit, those little instant packets. But also when I'm making coffee for a bigger group of people, I definitely carry this well-used Planetary Design big ass French press has served me really well. Like I said, when I'm not using that, we drink a lot of the Starbucks Via. I just keep my little Jetboil in here when I'm going to be making things quick. This is really nice to heat water really quick for coffee or soups or anything like that on the inside of the habitat. Next up is the pots and pans that I'm carrying. Right now, I have this Stanley Base Camp, I think is what it's called, or cook kit. This is an awesome little cook kit. I've designed this little insulation sleeve to go around it. I am going to do a later review on this, but this thing has served me really well. It's pretty well used at this point. Now at home, I use like 90% cast iron. So although it's heavy, I do carry combo pan and little sauce pot. One works as the other's lid. I love these things. The nice thing about these is you get them hot and they maintain their heat really well, which is always important when you're out camping because it just helps thermally keep your food hotter when it's sitting there maybe waiting for another component of the meal to finish up. Lodge, honestly, it's okay for what it is. It's not the world's best quality cast iron, just the finish of it isn't super smooth, but give it enough time and give it enough use. Seasoning these things over time will really create a pretty stick-free surface. I also carry my little chainmail for cleaning the Lodge cast iron, as well as a couple little rubber heat guards for holding it and manipulating it. I hate burning myself, so I invested in those not too long ago, and I haven't used them yet, but I use them at home, so it's gonna be nice. I do carry a little thermometer so I can check my meat if I have any questions. Next, we're gonna go into the section with most of my utensils and that kind of stuff. I've got a couple little mixing bowls here, another lighter, plethora of different utensils that I use. I always carry some of my retired but good quality kitchen stuff. A nice pair of sturdy tongs is super important to have. Having a spatula is always a must. I love these metal egg turners and flippers. I think this is actually technically a fish turner, but this is super helpful out there. Can opener, because of course, a miniature little whisk, little redundancy, another little spatula. This is basically a milk frother, and I use this thing to really emulsify different sauces, but primarily my bulletproof coffees. I definitely like these two Lodge little scrapers. I use these just to scrape up bits of food in the pan. You just basically want to remove any stuck on food and re-season these every time you use them without using soap and water. Soap and water ruins the non-stick seasoning on cast iron. These are really nice to really give you some elbow grease in the corners. This pot I use for boiling water, cooking veggies, whatever it might be. It's got this little insert to it. I found this in a thrift store years and years ago. That's all the utensils for the most part that I bring. Next up, of course, you need a knife. Got this cheap old Wessermeister knife that I keep pretty sharp. It's just a heavier backed big old chef knife, so I keep that. A little sheath that I have from another knife. Next, this is a new item for the kit. They haven't actually been used yet, but I wanted to dabble with a bigger plate than I had been using, and these are a GSI enameled steel plate. The most common thing you see these in is a blue, like speckled blue. Everybody's seen them. They've been around forever. GSI is a local Pacific Northwest company I found, and I wanted to get some of these plates to experiment with, so we're going to put these through their paces in the coming trips ahead. That pretty much sums up all the cooking pots, pans, and utensils that come with me. Next, we're going to go on to cleaning. What I find is it's always kind of difficult to keep things from like mildewing. What I have here is just a little reusable desiccant bead water absorber. Typically this is used for a gun safe, and it can be plugged in when you're at home, dry the inside desiccant beads out, and then I put it back in here to help absorb water and all that kind of stuff and stop any of this stuff from mildewing. This has been a nice addition. I haven't really seen a whole lot of mildew happening since I put this in here. But I do take this in and out of the kit and recharge it when I get home after a trip. Sponges, Dr. Bronner's soap. Everybody seems to use that. It's as biodegradable as you can get off trail. This is a new system I'm going to be trying out over the next couple of trips. And it's basically going to be a soap bottle and a sanitizer rinsing bottle for cleaning all my dishes. I might not actually do sanitizer in this. I might just do straight water. I'm hoping that this system is going to help me conserve water on the trail. I'll keep you posted as to how it works out. Lastly, I just keep a big old thing of sanitizer wipes in here. I get these through work. They're meant for wiping down kitchen surfaces. It's a no rinse, so it evaporates any of the sanitizer once it dries a little bit. Super handy to have. All right, well, that pretty much empties out my kitchen utensil tote. You can see the grid pattern a little better there. And realistically, if you went and made this same system, you can play around with the layout of this to fit your specific cooking equipment, you know, perfectly the way you need it to. I'm gonna go ahead and pack this up now, show you guys how quickly it can get done. I almost forgot to bring it up. I do bring this shower pump sprayer that I made for showering off quickly at camp out with me. This also works out great for rinsing off any of the dishes you have. Hey, I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope you had some good takeaways from it, and I gave you some new ideas that you maybe hadn't heard about. I encourage you to get a little bit more creative in your food preparation when you're out on the trail. I find it fun to cook some unique things when I'm out on the trail for myself and the people that I'm camping with. Everybody's got to eat, so you might as well make it taste good. If you like this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button. You can hit the like button if you liked it. You can hit the bell icon to be notified when I launch a new video. Like I said, this video is going to kind of kick off some recipe and technique videos going forward in the future. If you want to find any of the items that I showed you in this video, there will be links in the description section below. If you have any comments or questions about anything to do with the video, any video ideas that you want to see in the future, definitely throw those down in the comment section below. If you like my channel and you want to follow us on other platforms, you can find me over on Instagram at Evergreen Overland, as well as the Facebook page Evergreen Overland and evergreenoverland.com. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.